Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're taking on a massive topic, one that really sits right at the core of human frustration: discipline. Specifically, we're going to completely dismantle the guilt and shame you might be feeling around laziness. Because if you've ever hated yourself for not sticking to a plan, or hitting snooze way too many times, or mindlessly scrolling when you know you should be studying, well, this explainer is going to change everything for you. We're going to use hardcore neuroscience and behavioral design to prove that your perceived lack of discipline absolutely isn't a failure of willpower. It's simply a failure of design. So let's just dive right in.
So, are you just lazy? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? And honestly, most of us have whispered this to ourselves at some point or another. Society constantly tells us that a lack of discipline is this deep character flaw. A weak, shameful trait that all the successful people magically have and the rest of us just lack. We treat self-control like it's a moral imperative. But what if I told you that this entire view is completely misguided? What if beating yourself up over procrastination is literally like getting mad at your own lungs for breathing air? It turns out, true discipline, at least how we normally think about it, actually goes entirely against the way your human brain is naturally designed to operate.
Section 1. The biology of laziness. To really get this, we have to go back a bit. For millions of years, our brains evolved for one primary purpose: immediate survival. In a harsh world with scarce resources, the brain adapted to conserve energy, seek quick rewards, and avoid literally any unnecessary effort. Your brain actually wants you to stay on the couch, because historically that saved energy for a potential saber-toothed tiger attack. But modern society, it demands the exact opposite. We live in a fast-paced supercomputer world that expects long-term focus, endless productivity, and these highly abstract goals. When you try to force discipline through pure willpower, you're essentially trying to fight off millions of years of deeply ingrained evolutionary programming with, a couple of motivational posters? It's a complete biological mismatch. And this brings us to a really crucial neuroscience concept called cognitive ease. This is your brain's unconscious tendency to always choose the path of least resistance. Now notice the word unconscious here. This calculation happens before you even make a conscious decision. Your brain isn't rational, it's just relentlessly efficient. When faced with the choice of writing a complex, multi-page report or just opening TikTok, your brain calculates which one requires less energy and which one provides faster dopamine. And TikTok is going to win that battle every single time. So relying on sheer willpower is a doomed battle from the start, because eventually you're going to get tired. And when you get tired, your brain defaults right back to cognitive ease. It chooses the easy path. Section 2. Environment beats willpower. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, actually summarizes this reality perfectly. He says, "Motivation is overrated. Environment is more important." Think about it. If you constantly need to rely on your willpower, it means you're fighting a daily, exhausting battle against the natural structure of your own brain. Real discipline doesn't come from forcing yourself to do things you hate. It comes from design. The most consistent people out there aren't miraculously stronger or better than you. They've simply engineered an environment that makes the right behavior the easiest possible option.
Which leads us to a fascinating idea called choice architecture. Self-control isn't some moral muscle you have to flex, it's just behavioral engineering. Human behavior is vastly shaped by whatever is closest, most accessible, and most visible in our surroundings. There was this famous study done in a hospital cafeteria where researchers simply added baskets of bottled water near the food stations and the checkout lines. That's it. They didn't tell anyone to drink more water, they didn't put up health warning posters, yet almost overnight, soda sales plummeted and water sales skyrocketed. Why? Because the decision just became easier. The environment changed and the behavior automatically followed suit.
The best part is you can start manipulating your own choice architecture today. Say you want to read more. Don't leave your book tucked away on some dusty shelf. Put it right on your pillow so you physically have to pick it up to go to sleep. Want less screen time? Turn off the non-essential notifications and use app blockers so the friction to mindlessly scroll is incredibly high. Want to work out in the morning? Leave your gym clothes and your shoes right by the bed the night before. You're essentially setting clever little traps for your own laziness. When the right environment is set up, doing the good behavior becomes almost inevitable, simply because you've made it the path of least resistance.
Section 3. The habit stacking hack.
Now, to build a truly foolproof system, we have to look at habit loops. The human brain operates on a basic, reliable cycle: cue, routine, and reward. And here's the secret. You already have dozens of these running on pure autopilot every day. You brush your teeth. You make your coffee. You check your phone when you sit on the couch. Habit stacking proposes that instead of trying to build a completely new habit from scratch, which takes a ton of mental energy, you just attach your new behavior to an existing automatic one. You literally hijacked the old routine. For example, immediately after you brush your teeth, you sit down and meditate for 2 minutes. Or, immediately after you pour that first cup of morning coffee, you write just one sentence in a journal. You're using the existing momentum of what your brain already does naturally to carry you right into the new task effortlessly.
But to make this actually work, you have to follow a few golden rules. First, it has to be short, under 2 minutes. The biggest barrier to any task is always just starting, so you need to make the start incredibly unintimidating. Second, it has to be specific. Telling yourself to read more is vague and unhelpful. Read exactly 1 page is highly specific. And third, it must be immediate. There can be absolutely no pause between the old habit and the new one. No time to wander off, no time for your brain to rationalize skipping it. Now, these micro habits might seem a little insignificant on day one, but over time they exponentially accumulate into a completely transformed lifestyle.
Section 4. Rethinking procrastination.
Let this next statement really sink in. Procrastination is not laziness, it is a symptom of poor design. When you find yourself avoiding a task, it's not because you fundamentally lack ambition. It's actually a bright red warning light indicating that your current environment makes the desired action way too difficult, incredibly boring, or just entirely unrewarding. Think about it. If your desk is a chaotic mess, your study materials are buried at the bottom of a backpack, and your phone is glowing brightly right next to you offering instant entertainment, well, of course you're going to procrastinate. It's not a matter of morality, it's just basic neuroscience. The brain is doing its job by avoiding high friction and abstract returns. So how do we fix this poor design? We use James Clear's 4 laws of behavior change. If you want to stop procrastinating on, say, a study session, just apply these laws. Law 1. Make it obvious. Take your materials out of the backpack and put them right on the center of the table. Law 2. Make it attractive. Pair the study session with your absolute favorite coffee or a great lo-fi playlist. Law 3. Make it easy. Tell yourself you only have to study for exactly 5 minutes, and then you can stop if you want. And Law 4. Make it satisfying. Promise yourself an episode of your favorite show the very moment you finish. When you deliberately apply these laws, avoiding procrastination becomes a natural consequence of your environment, rather than some grueling white-knuckle act of willpower.
Section 5. Systems over motivation. You've probably heard productivity gurus say that you need to fall in love with the routine to be successful. Honestly, that is a dangerous, demotivating lie. You absolutely do not need to like discipline to be disciplined. The difference here is night and day. If you live in the realm of motivation, your success depends entirely on your mood, your energy levels, and even the weather outside. It is incredibly volatile. But if you shift over to the realm of systems, action becomes automatic and inevitable. Take a morning run, for example. You do not have to wake up excitedly craving a run. But if your running shoes are already out, your alarm clock is across the room forcing you out of bed, your playlist is queued up, and a workout partner is waiting for you, you're going to run. The friction is so low and the structure is so tight that running just becomes the logical default.
It really all boils down to this fantastic insight. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Your future isn't defined by your grand, sweeping intentions, it's defined by the automated structures you build to catch you on your bad days. Highly productive people do not rely on a burning desire to work hard. They rely on structures that guarantee execution even when they feel completely exhausted, uninspired, and entirely unmotivated. Section 6. The Identity Shift. This brings us to the deepest psychological level of all this. Identity shapes habits, and habits reinforce identity. It's this continuous, powerful feedback loop. True, lasting transformation doesn't actually happen when you just try to brute force different actions. It happens when you start seeing yourself as a completely different kind of person. You see, discipline isn't the end goal. It's merely a side effect of a person who has designed their life well. If you really want to change, you have to stop hyper-focusing on achieving a specific outcome and start focusing on becoming someone new. So how do you actually become that person? You do it through small, daily, seemingly insignificant decisions. Think about training when you're tired, or choosing to read just 1 page instead of scrolling, or executing a tiny habit for literally just 2 minutes. Every single time you do one of these things, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are physically proving to yourself with tangible evidence, I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done. You aren't just acting differently, you are actively rewriting your entire self-image. And once your identity changes, the behavior simply follows as a natural reflection of who you now are. So I want to leave you with this final thought. What is the first habit you're going to redesign today? Seriously, stop waiting around for a burst of motivation. Stop punishing yourself for not having infinite willpower. Your brain isn't broken and you certainly aren't lazy. You just needed better architecture. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be smart enough to design an environment where the right choices are undeniably the easiest ones. Find the friction in your life, start stacking those small habits, and take control. The path of least resistance is right there, waiting for you to build it. Thanks for learning with us today.